Today I'll share a project titled Responsible and Inclusive Cards, an online card tool to promote critical reflection in technology industry work practices. In this talk, I will be presenting our research through design of a computer-based card tool to help technologists think more critically about the broader contexts and impacts of their work. Our tool and its underlying framework provides guiding questions to scaffold reflection and action and take participants through different topics such as intentions, methods, stakeholders, impacts, and past actions. This study contributes an interactive system and reports from workshops and interviews with 23 technologists working in cross-functional interdisciplinary teams across the US and Brazil. First, I will begin by defining our problem space. Oftentimes in industry, the societal implications of technology are considered after public deployment. However, broader impacts ought to be considered during the onset and throughout development to reduce potential for harmful uses, biases, and exclusions. There is a need for tools and frameworks to help technologists become more aware of broader impacts of their work and engage in more responsible and inclusive practices, while keeping in mind the tensions and potential trade-offs that exist in doing such work in such settings. Cards are a promising and versatile approach for facilitating conversations, collaboration, reflection, action, and idea generation across various contexts. Previous research in HCI has underlined the need for card-based tools to address ethical issues and for critical reflection. Our study aims to address the following gaps in critical reflection cards. There is a lack of card tools aimed at supporting technologists across functional and cross-functional, remote and hybrid teams in industry to engage in critical reflection. Existing card tools content often does not include relevant business considerations, incentives, and trade-offs that intersect with everyday research and development process in corporate tech spaces. Many existing card decks are organized categorically, with little to no underlying process to walk people through different concepts and ideas, some of which might require more forethought or awareness prior to response or action. There are deeply entrenched organizational hierarchies, which influence group interaction and power dynamics and often prevent opportunities for open and balanced dialogue. Our research question was, how can we design a card tool to support technologists to critically reflect on the larger contexts and broader impacts of their work? Our card tool draws on the Responsible and Inclusive framework, which was developed as part of our team's broader research initiative. The slide shows a high-level schematic of the stable version of the framework. The framework is organized across 4 suites, including history, stakeholders, impact and outcomes, and practices and actions. Within each suit, questions and concepts guide a team to reflect on elements that underlie a responsible and inclusive mindset. To accommodate differences in knowledge or needs, we then organized each suit into 4 levels of knowledge depth. These levels form the card tool's notion of phases, which include getting started, information gathering, getting specific, and call to action. Players have the option to play by suits, phases, or both. Examples of questions from the stakeholder suit across the 4 phases are shown to the right. Our motivations for implementing the card-based tool digitally include the following. First, the implementation of digital support for cards through computer-based tools remains a relatively unexplored area compared to their physical counterparts. Second, we aim to create a card tool that would be scalable and accessible to as many technologists as possible, accounting for the geographical distribution of teams and time zone differences. Third, we aim to reduce power gaps and prevent uncomfortable encounters, many of which are related to hierarchical relationships between employees. We hypothesized that offloading facilitation and turn-taking tasks to a computer-based system might enable less hierarchical and more democratic participation. Lastly, our team was iteratively developing the questions and framework. A weakness of physical cards is that changes require reprinting, and it can be time-consuming to create such high-fidelity prototypes. An online format could afford us the flexibility to continue iterating as well as the ability to collect feedback via usage metrics. Using a research through design approach, we conducted 5 workshops with cross-functional distributed teams at IBM to iteratively design and evaluate the R&I cards. 3 teams were based in the US and 2 teams were based in Brazil. The largest team consisted of 7 participants, while the smallest team consisted of 3 participants. We additionally performed 2 interviews with people with disabilities to assess the tool's accessibility. All studies were conducted remotely and consisted of a 45-minute group activity playing the card tool and 15-minute focus group. In terms of analysis, the team conducted qualitative thematic analysis on perceived benefits and tensions of the R&I cards tool. Now, I will move on to the design and evaluation of our card tool. The first version of our card tool consisted of 2 pages, a landing page and gameplay page. Once players were added, they would be shuffled and randomly matched to a question card to respond to. Changes between version 1 and version 2 were minimal. The 2 teams who evaluated versions 1 and 2 liked how the tool promoted participation of all team members, generated excitement and comfort towards sometimes difficult topics, and was a novel format compared to what participants were used to. However, in version 1 and 2, we encountered issues relating to players and questions being repeated. Participants also found some questions challenging, as some questions lacked grounding to a particular problem or seemed to build on ideas that had not yet been discussed. It is from these findings that we developed card suits and phases. In versions 3, 4, and 5, we combined the landing page and gameplay page into a single page and introduced card suits and phases. Based on participants' suggestions, we also added a space for teams to write down their session topic, a drop-down to select game mode, a skip card button, feedback mechanisms, and a progress bar. Our 6th and most stable version was evaluated separately with 2 technologists with disabilities based in Brazil. The first identified as being on the autism spectrum, and the second was blind. They found the tool easy to use and adequate in terms of accessibility, and provided suggestions for simplifying questions and improving accessibility. From our workshops and interviews, we found that the card tool provided a forum and time for teams to discuss issues and share ideas in a way that appeared to feel comfortable for people who may have had different opinions or backgrounds. It enabled all members of a team to participate equally by automatically matching participants to questions, thus eliminating the tendency for more senior technologists or managers to begin the discussion, steer the topics, or interject. In all 5 workshops, participants identified and discussed gaps and opportunities for increasing responsible and inclusive action in their current projects and practices. There was evidence that participants' conceptualizations of both stakeholders and impacts were enriched or expanded, and that the tool provoked discussions about inclusion, broadly speaking. It also enabled reflection on the barriers and tensions of doing such responsible or inclusive work within a corporate environment, such as how business values, legal considerations, public relations, internal and external policies, and corporate infrastructures influence research projects and technologies. There were a few tensions that surfaced from our workshops. We found that providing too much instruction distracted from the activities, while providing too little instruction led to participants' confusion on what to do. The second tension related to the extent to which we kept questions and keywords purposefully open to interpretation. While some participants liked the open-endedness of questions and keywords, other participants wished we had provided more definitions, examples, or images. To strengthen our research as well as improve our tool's functionality and content, we plan to do the following: evaluate the framework and guiding questions in their entirety, evaluate the tool within every work practice, such as sprint planning or design thinking sessions, build in additional functionality, such as the ability to take notes or record, create opportunities to share and iterate upon our framework and questions by opening up the tool and repository to the community. To conclude, in this paper, we describe the research through design of the R&I cards tool, an online card tool that takes participants through different topics such as intentions, methods, stakeholders, impacts, and past actions. We invite you to take action and explore our tool and framework further by going to these links or scanning the QR code. Thank you.